Yes or no? Yes or no?
The latest episode of Call Her Daddy features a lengthy interview with Oscar-winning actress Charlie Theron, entitled I Don't Need a Man. And in it, Miss Theron explains how she reacts to people criticising her for being a single mum.
I want to just look at them and just be like, do you know how fucking great it is to live exactly how I want to live, to experience motherhood exactly how I wanted to experience it? And I know the next thing they say is well, that's not fair on your kids. Can I tell you something? That will be their story to tell. I can't tell you. I can only tell you that this is the best way that I know how to be a mother to them. And maybe they'll grow up and tell their story, and I will respect that.
Well, she also wanted audiences to know how liberating it is for her children not to have a father.
I love that I don't have to run every fucking thing by a guy. I love that I don't have to, well, oh my God, co-parent. I fucking love that I don't have to do any of that stuff. And my children, we joke. Listen, I think you can tell, this is how I raise my kids.
Yeah.
Right? We don't hide this shit.
But don't worry, while Charlie doesn't think husband or father is important in life, she hasn't given up on men altogether.
I found this freedom in my 40s where I'm like, oh my God. So I just want to say this in perspective. I've probably had 3 one-night stands in my entire life.
Okay.
But I did just recently fuck a 26-year-old, and it was really fucking amazing.
Fuck yes.
Yes. And I've never done that. And I was like, oh, this is great. Okay.
Let me just say that 26-year-old is the luckiest fucking man walking on this goddamn planet. He's walking different today, knowing, oh my God.
He for sure is not, but thank you.
No, he is.
Well, the episode's been viewed by nearly 1 million people so far. Reaction's been divided between those who celebrate Charlize as, quote, a powerful badass, epitome of a strong woman fighting against the evil patriarchy, and others who, in equally strident language, view the whole episode as yet another example of modern feminist media denigrating the role of men at every given opportunity, all of which makes it a good starting point for a lively debate. Well, joining me for this battle of the sexes, host of the Crucible podcast, Andrew Wilson, who I could imagine was visibly shuddering as he listened to those clips. Jedediah Byler, who's the host of the Jedediah Byler Show, commentator and author of The Case for Cancel Culture, Ernest Owens, and the editor of the User Mag newsletter, Taylor Lorenz. Well, welcome to all of you. And Jedediah, welcome to you especially, because you're making your uncensored debut. We always like debutantes. I'm always astonished.
Thank you very much, Pierce.
Always astonished when people come back for more. But thank God they do. And thank God Andrew Wilson does. Andrew, your thoughts on Charlie Theron? She doesn't need a man. She likes banging 26-year-olds when she feels like it. You don't need fathers in life. You just need a strong, badass woman.
Well, it's really funny. The reason nobody cares really very much when a 40-year-old attractive woman has sex with some random young man is because it's not impressive. It's impressive when men can bang young women because most men can't bang young women, but most older women can bang young men. So it's just not an impressive accomplishment. Of course, these are the same women who will screech because, Leonardo DiCaprio decides that he wants to change up, at 25 years old, any of the broads he has hanging around. But this is not an impressive accomplishment. All a woman needs to do to get laid is go somewhere where there's men and offer it up. It's not the case for men. So it's an unimpressive accomplishment on its face. As to the rest of what she's saying, this is just normal tripe, right? Her kids are the ones who are going to get punished. They're always the ones who get punished. We can look at the data for outcomes on children who are raised in single mother homes. It's not good. It's not good for their mental health. It's not. And by the way, the rates of abuse from having strange men around skyrocket. Terrible idea. And it's exactly the wrong kind of propaganda to be pushing.
All right, Taylor Lorenz, isn't it just a factual reality of life that women are predominantly happier with a man by their side and children are predominantly better off in life with a present father?
I think, listen, children are better off in life when they have a loving household, and not all of those households have fathers. I mean, there are lesbian parents, there are, different types of arrangements. I think it's important for kids to have different figures in their life who they can look up to. I think it's really important to expose kids to all different types of figures, but that doesn't have to be, like a man, a cisgender man that's standing around all the time. There's plenty of terrible fathers out there too. So, yeah, I think it's great that the child is growing up in a loving household, and hopefully, she'll expose the child to lots of different types
Yeah, but
of.
can you acknowledge that we have now been studying this phenomenon of single motherhood for years and years and years, and that the outcomes for children of single mothers tend to be terrible in comparison to the outcomes of children without them? Can you just acknowledge that that is true?
So I think what you're talking about are studies.
I'm asking a question. Don't run from the question. Yes or no? I want you to acknowledge with a yes or no, then a qualifier. Yes or no? Isn't it true that outcomes for children when they're raised by single mothers tend to be worse than those with a mother and a father in the house? Yes or no? Then give me your answer.
So I'd love to respond if you stop talking over me.
Go ahead.
Anyway, most single mothers are not Charlize Theron with millions and millions and millions of dollars. So when you look at studies like that, a lot of it has to do with the economic opportunities that a lot of single mothers have. Women make less than men as a whole. They're subject to more sexism and discrimination. So it can often be more challenging for them to raise a child alone.
So the answer is yes.
No, the answer is Charlie Theron.
It sounds like you just said that the answer is yes. The answer, according to you just now, is yes.
No, any single
and then you just
parent,
make excuses for it. You're like, yes,
Taylor, this is
because
not
women are
right
oppressed.
now. This is so weird. You're like shouting
Taylor,
at me.
can I jump in here,
Well, do
Piers?
you know what?
Yeah, okay. Let's bring. Hang on. Time out. Let's bring in Jedediah.
Taylor, this is not rocket science. First of all, you lost me at cis male. You just meet a guy, just a man, right? We don't need all these terms, these nonsensical, ridiculous terms that, modern leftists have come up with. It's just a man. Children do better when there is a mom and there is a dad. And the reason is that men and women are completely different. They bring very different things to the table. And children need the role model of a mom and a dad, not just people around. Sure, you can have aunts, you can have uncles, you can have friends, but we're talking about the two individuals that are raising children. And let me just ask you this question. Wait, I'm not done yet. You complained that Andrew interrupted you, and now you just interrupted me. I'm not done yet. Charlize Theron, you're right. She is rich. She has a ton of money. But what example do you think she's sending to young women everywhere that this is somehow empowering, that you should strive? By the way, you should strive to be the single mom because you don't have to deal with a guy. You don't have to answer to a man. Oh, isn't that so wonderful? And guess who'll pay the price? My kid. She even says, my kids can tell their story. How unbelievably selfish of her to say, my children will one day to get to tell a story that they had no father because I decided that I just wanted to do this myself, me, myself, and my money. Is that the message? I
wanted to go hump 26-year-olds.
They're lesbian. They shouldn't be able to raise children. You need a man. What about women that raise children?
We're not talking about Taylor. No one said what should be
Moms.
allowed. I'm not talking about.
Well, tell you what I find strange. What I find strange is I know Charlize a bit when she was dating Sean Penn, and thought she was very nice, but she was always very elegant. If you interviewed her, her whole thing was high-end, elegant, all the highest-end advertising and so on. And then you see her there in this podcast, and she's like effing and blinding, talking about banging 26-year-olds. Very, very different, Ernest, to the Charlize Theron I thought I knew. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or whatever, but I do wonder if it was a male movie star sitting on a sofa, brazenly boasting about banging 26-year-olds. How old is Charlize? 50. If a 50-year-old male star was boasting about banging 26-year-old girls, right, and he was boasting about not needing a woman in his life, not needing a mother, all these kind of things, but in reverse, I don't think you'd be approving of this, Ernest. Tax day has passed, but for millions of Americans, that's where the trouble begins. The IRS is now ramping up enforcement for those who missed the April deadline or still owe back taxes. Well, today's sponsor, Tax Network USA, can still help. If your books are a mess, if you're self-employed, or if you're a business owner, Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track quickly. They say the IRS is applying enforcement pressure at levels they've never seen before. But even after the deadline, it's not too late to take control. The consultation is completely free. Acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/peers. That's tnusa.com/peers. Let Tax Network USA make the next move, not the IRS.
I mean, for starters, I'm all for if it's about consent and respect. They do it all the time. A lot of older men do it all the time on media, on social media, in interviews. It's not an actually uncommon thing. I think the reason why there's a lot of actual shock and awe over Charlize Theron, because a lot of women actually her age don't feel the liberty to do that on a public facing platform. And so that's why we're talking about her. We don't talk about men who do it often on here because it's so norm. I mean, if you look at who's in politics currently right now, they were just doing it their entire career before they got to the White House. So it's not that much of a shock. You know, there's a guy who got elected president.
Yeah, and you scream bloody murder about it.
And got elected. And so
and you scream bloody murder about it. What are you talking about? Hang on. You liberals said that was the most horrible thing. He was a terrible role model. How could he? And here's Charlize Theron is saying this, and you're like, she's your power boss, babe, Andrew. Come on.
See, if I talk over him, Pierce would be ready to tell me to be quiet and
we're done talking, dude. You were done talking.
Come on,
no, I wasn't done talking. Actually, can I actually talk?
Oh, man.
You can, Ernest. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So, what I was getting at is that there is a double standard, and I think honestly, like I said before, I don't know what liberal he's talking about, but I was not a liberal that said that Trump talking about grab her by the pussy was the worst thing he ever said, because there's a lot of other things he has said that I believe is far worse and actually should cause more attention. But that being said, I just feel like the only reason why we're talking about it is because women like Charlize Theron often don't do this on a normal. So it feels abnormal, and that's why we're discussing it.
Okay,
Ernest,
Andrew.
Why do these libs talk out of both sides of their mouth? I mean, look at it. She refused to acknowledge the outcomes for single moms. Pivots immediately.
Let's be clear.
Hang on.
Let's be clear.
Immediately. Hang on. Immediately. Yeah. Look, I'm sorry. If you have progressive talking points, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I call it a duck. So the thing is, right? The libs on the panel very clearly, right? She evades the answer, refuses to give us the answer of if outcomes for children of single moms are worse, refuses, gives us a bunch of qualifiers proving that they are, still refuses to do it. He says, well, this is so commonplace for men. Look at the sexual deviant that we have in the White House, and says, but I'm not throwing a fit about that. I'm not throwing a fit about that, though. Yeah, they did throw a fit about it.
Ineffective discussion. This man is just over everyone. Like, he's very emotional.
It's an ineffective
right
discussion.
Now.
I would like you, I would just like you to actually answer the questions I ask you. Why can't you people ever do that?
I have a question for Ernest.
This show anymore, I guess. Go ahead.
Ernest, you said there was. Hold on a second, guys. Ernest, you said there was a double standard. What are you, in your view, where is the double standard? Because I see a double standard here, but I think we see a different double standard.
Cool. So what I was saying was the double standard reaction, right? There is a lot of reaction because of what Charlize Theron said. I'm saying that I understand where that is coming from, because we don't often see women like Charlize Theron on these platforms talking about their sexuality in this way.
But it's celebrated. Ernest, that's not true. But here's the difference. Every time, hold on a second. Every time a man says, a guy can't even say that he prefers younger women. He can't even say, well, you know what? I prefer younger women because of their fertility is better, because they're in their peak attractiveness, because I want to have a bunch of kids and it gives me more time, without getting completely trashed.
Let's be clear. Hang on. Let's be clear. If Brad Pitt came out with an interview tomorrow on Uncensored, and I hope he does. If you're watching, Brad, my show is always available to you. But if he was, and he said, do you know what? Just only last week, I had the most unbelievable sex with a hot 26-year-old, right? Do you think the reaction, Ernest, would have been widespread applause for this guy? Or would it have been, you dirty old man? No. I'm not saying that I feel that about Charlize Theron. I'm just saying that's the double standard, right? Leo DiCaprio gets mocked at every award show because he dates women half his age. Now it's Charlize Theron. Everyone's like, oh, this is amazing.
Years.
A man would have been called a groomer.
I can give you an example where that backfired. So let me be very clear. So let me give you a good example of this, actually. First of all, it's if it's a pattern, right? Charlize Theron is not doing this on the regular. That's why this is a big news story. She's been mostly in long-term relationships. She does not have a habit of doing this. Leonardo DiCaprio's entire a lot of his romantic history has been this pattern, which has become a running joke. The first couple years he did it, no one cared. But it's been decades, like over
Ernest,
10 years.
That's not why it's a news story. With respect.
That's your opinion.
First of all, both of those things have been covered in the news. But the reason, what Pierce is getting at, I think, I don't want to put words in his mouth, this is being celebrated. Do you understand the difference? modern feminism has made it so that we now celebrate that Charlize Theron. And by the way, I don't give a lick, honestly. It's consensual. I don't care if she sleeps with a 26-year-old.
And by the way, there are a lot of 26-year-old men who will be absolutely thrilled that she's on the cougar market.
That's correct.
I mean,
right.
there will be.
And I don't care either. We can agree there. But I'm smart enough to acknowledge that she is being celebrated for that action, whereas a Leonardo DiCaprio, or the average guy for that matter, just saying, hey, I prefer a 22-year-old to a 32-year-old, will get destroyed in every possible
you know what?
media.
I actually have no problem with what she said about a 26-year-old. That's entirely down to her. She's a single woman. She can have sex with who the hell she likes if it's consenting an adult. I do, though, have a problem with, and Andrew was, I think, right about this. In a way, what she's saying is all your quaint ideas about you need a bloke around, you need a father, you need a husband, that's all bullshit. Look at me. I'm proof it's all great. I don't believe women when they say that. I don't believe men when they say the same thing. You know, I just think that actually the ideal is that you have a man and woman around kids.